Hello! Today we're building a new front page to our to-do app. We will discover the Hiccup syntax, which Coast uses to render the HTML pages. Let's get into it. Hiccup is a library for representing HTML in Clojure. It uses vectors to represent elements and maps to represent an element's attribute. Here is an example. So on the top, we have the Clojure data structure in the Hiccup syntax, and the Hiccup engine will render this data structure into the HTML below. You can see the very first element in the vector will become the tag in HTML, and the map will become the attribute of the A tag here. And the rest of the vector will become the body of the HTML. For more reference, you can check out the Git repository of Hiccup. One thing I found very useful is the CSS style syntactic sugar. Instead of writing the ID and class in the attribute map, you can just use ## to denote the element's ID and use dot to denote the element's classes. Another thing you'll see a lot is tachyons, a functional CSS library that comes with the Coast template. Let's come back to our code base. So my editor is already connected with the nrepo server. Now what I need to do is to evaluate the namespace and start the main function. We can now go back to our browser and make sure everything's running. Come back to our source, site, and home.clj. This is where we define the landing page, and this is exactly the text we are seeing on the landing page. And what we're going to do is we want to do some testings. So we can just write a comment block so it doesn't get executed when we are actually running in production. Let's just try a couple things. So we will cover this later, but for now, it's we want to just run a query on. We want to select everything from the to-do table, and then we also wanted to order by the ID and then in the descending order. So that's print out what's returned back. Cool. What we get back is a list of items, or you can just consider it a sequence of items. And each one of those are a namespace maps, which means those keywords, the ID is not just ID, it's actually an ID under the to-do namespace. Here's an example of the namespace keyword. Let's say if you have the first map, which is a to-do map, and it has key of ID, and you also have the key of name, go shopping. So you can see the M1 looks like that. And then you have another map called, let's say, a person, which also has ID1, and also have the name. These two maps, when you are merging them together, the keys won't collide with each other because the key doesn't mean the same thing to them. So what you get back is you get the to-do ID key, and then you have the to-do name key. You also have the person ID key, person name key coexisting in the same place. Let's get back to the index. Based on our design, what we actually want is an div, and within the div, we want to have our header, which is all to-dos. We also want the unordered list. Within the unordered list, we want to somehow iterate through all the items that we see on the right. Let's just finish the design, and then we'll come back to fill in the actual data. We have some list item 1, we have the item 2, item 3, and then, so let's go back to our browser. This is basically the layout that we're looking for. It's just we need some more style on it. Come back to our code. First of all, give the div some padding. Make sure it doesn't just stretch all the way across the page. We also want to center it. Recall that the dot denotes the classes. So this one is actually equivalent to, but this is not what we're doing now. We saved it, come back. It's looking nicer now. So TTU is text transform uppercase. When we have the order list, we don't actually want to have the bullet points. For the list items, we want to change the line height, paddings vertically, border on the bottom, and the border color to be black 30. So let's take a look. Do the same thing for the rest. Let's check it out. Okay. Let's introduce a left binding. We bound the row symbol inside this function scope so now we have the rows in our scope. What we can do is we provide a list comprehension. The row will become the first item, and then the second item, and the third item, one by one. Each one of them will in turn return something. Let's come back to this one again. In the list comprehension, we return same element every time. So now we want to change this thing up. For now, perhaps that's good enough. Just return everything as a string. But what we actually need is just this thing. Of course, you can do something like this will definitely work. But later on, because here is something else that we will also want to add some class based on a condition. But this is kind of repetitive. We can use the structuring in Clojure where you can get the name and finish, but this has some issue. The name and finish, they're not just normal key, they're namespace keys. So we really need is we get the to do, and then here we can just simplify it as let's try that again. Oh, syntax error. Okay, and then now we can go to our to-dos again, and then just not be finished, and then go to our prettier landing page. Now we are seeing the edit video is on the top. To recap, today we learned about the Hiccup syntax for to represent our HTML elements, and then we build this page. What we want to do next time is that currently this to-do page is kind of too powerful for any user, that anyone can come here and then delete and view and edit the data, and we want to just put some password over this page, so only the user that's authorized can come here and change the values. But in the meantime, we don't want any restriction on the first page. Anyone can come here and then look at my to-do list today. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.